One night I was looking around on the internet, and I found a website full of vintage maps of different, like strange old maps, like a cartography website. And I found this old map of an area off of Nova Scotia in northeast of Canada in the northern United States, or North America. And it was an area of a little island called Sable Island, which is a uninhabited island. There's only one family on the island and a bunch of feral horses, which are wild horses. Gonna drag you away, wild horses. Anyway, and the family on the island, their one job is to watch out. They have a lighthouse, and they're supposed to watch out for ships because there's a giant sandbar that's over, I don't know how many kilometers, but it's maybe, you know, maybe 200 kilometers long, and there have been more than 2,000 shipwrecks over the course of over the course of many years. So that area is called the Graveyard of the Atlantic. There's also a Graveyard of the Atlantic of a similar nature off of the east coast of North Carolina in the North America as well, in the United States. But mine was specifically that one. I just thought there was this sort of like sad, beautiful quality to the name, and I usually with any song, you know, it starts with like a phrase, you know, like sometimes you can write a whole song off of some weird, funny wordplay. I mean, like Nirvana, for instance. If you look through the lyrics, like Kurt's lyrics, to me, there was always some sort of something that tied them together, but overall it was a lot of just vivid, colorful imagery, but not very, it was very vague, but you can pick out some bits of, oh, I know what he's talking about there, you know? I mean, that's things that leave more for your imagination, to me, are way better than things that are very surface. The album isn't really much of a concept album. Like our last album, Welcome the Night, was very conceptual. It was more of everything tied together. This album, what I've written so far, is more just a lot of vivid stories and songs that are like very personal stories and a lot of really deep parts of my life and things I've gone through when traveling. And you know, in heartbreak and in the past. And you know, when I write, sometimes I pull from way back in the past, and sometimes I write about the current moment. But there's a little bit of all parts of my life in there, and it's definitely not as dark of a record as our last album. But lyrically, I think it's one of the most in-depth, vivid, like bits of stories I think I've written to date. Well, the first song, All Souls Day, was me writing a song. There's a Mexican holiday called Day of the Dead, which is a holiday of November 1st, All Souls Day, where the families go to the graveyards in Mexico and they celebrate the lives of the loved ones they've lost. So I wanted to take that concept and apply that to my ex-wife and our divorce, and how sometimes when you break up with someone, it's like the person has died, and that song is a celebration of the demise and death of our relationship. So that's that song. The next song, The Graveyard of the Atlantic, is, I don't know how to, that's just a song, a vivid song about when you first meet someone and all of the, I don't know, I just tried to, like a Springsteen song or something, I really wanted to try and make a really colorful setting of two people meeting each other, and kind of that unspoken tension when you first meet someone, and how you're not quite familiar with each other, but that sort of unfamiliar feeling is what is the drive behind the moment, I guess. And then what's the other? Oh, 12-15-10. That song is my great-grandmother passed away in December 15th of 2010, and that is a song that I wrote, kind of stream of consciousness right after she died, about how you know, this saying, "Seize the day." It's carpe diem. It's Latin for seize the day. It means just basically, don't take this moment for granted, because the next moment may never come. And she was one person in my life that I know was ready for another life, or ready to die. And I was kind of comparing that with the fact that I don't feel I will ever be ready to die, because I feel there's so much living in my life left to do. So the contrast of both of those things. And lastly, Fast Times at Dropout High, the other song. That song was about one time when I'd been living in California for many years, and I traveled back to Indiana where I grew up, and I wanted to write a story about how, not only metaphorically, but the first line is "Alone at last, just nostalgia and I wanted to kind of say like literally like me and nostalgia as a person traveling around to all these old places in my town and having all these memories and feelings reawoken. So I don't know if it makes sense, but yeah. And then there's another half of the song that is kind of about my first wife and her father and some crazy, her crazy family, and how her father was just kind of a bad person. I don't know. It would take too long to explain, but yeah, that song's. I'm a bit of a jumbled writer. I write all over the place. A lot of my songs are like many ingredients. It's like one sandwich with 1,000 ingredients. So I'm all over the place. Very scatterbrained. Like when I talk, I'm like, you know. So I write songs the same way. I always kind of use this as an example. There's there's the painter Jackson Pollock, and there's a movie that they did about Jackson Pollock. He's the painter that took the paint and splattered it all around on the canvas, and there was in the movie, I don't know if it's based off of a real interview, but I think like Rolling Stone or some magazine was interviewing Jackson Pollock, and they asked him, because a lot of people used to question his work because it was just a bunch of splatter of different colors of paint but now if you go to a museum, a modern art museum, you see Jackson Pollock's artwork, you're like, he was a freaking genius, you know. And same with a lot of modern artists, you know. But they asked him in this interview, like, so hey, how do you know when it's finished? And he just kind of gave them a look like, you know, like what do you mean, you know? And I think what his look was, it was basically like, only the person who writes a song know, you know, you just know, and it's just when it's done, you're like, okay, it just has a feeling, and you know. But I guess sometimes you're writing something and you're like, I have no clue where to go with this, and that's when you get stuck on songs because you think about it too much. I think it's better just to not think and just let it flow sometimes, you know. It's good advice I need to take sometimes. Very much so, yes. I think traveling is the thing that most inspires me, even more than music or art or, you know, relationships or, you know, or heartbreak. I mean, going out and seeing new places. I feel I'm a very much a observational writer. I write what I see. So when I'm traveling, or like right now, if I were to write something, I would try to pick out every little intimate detail of the surroundings, try to tell the most vivid, detailed picture of what I see and what is I'm feeling. And so yeah, traveling is my biggest inspiration, I would think. Yeah,
I don't get burnout. I hate going home.
He really hates going home. Every time, like the week before we go home, he's always like, you can tell he starts getting really somber. Like me, like I like going home sometime. After a short tour though, I don't want to go home. But if we're out on tour for 2 months straight, I start to look forward to going home because it's like a recharge. I'll go home for a month and then I'm ready to leave again. But yeah, yeah, you definitely don't like going home, do you? You probably stay on the road all the time, yeah.
It gives me anxiety to go.
What about you?
Yeah, I really don't get burnout. I've been on the road for almost 10 years now, and it's like a wanderlust, you know what I mean? There's always more to see, and there's always so much to do, so I just, like, lust for life, you know what I mean? Like, keep it going.
For me, it's just every day is different, so it's kind of exciting every day when you wake up because you don't know what's going to happen, and it's kind of hard. I've learned to not think too far in advance about where we're going to be or what's going to be going on, because if you just do it day by day, it's a fun adventure and you never know where you're going to end up. So.
Yeah, I agree. You got to live life in the moment and not plan. Of course, you know, with music, there's got to be some planning that goes into it because promoters need to plan in advance, but at the same time, yeah. Yeah, it is.
They have trouble dealing with us sometimes because we don't like to plan.
Yeah, we're kind of unorthodox when it comes to planning tours. Like, I'm like, Brian, let's go play some shows, and we have no time for planning. And some promoters are like, oh, I don't know, you know. But it's kind of difficult. But yeah, we just do what we want. Exactly. Why not? Don't let anybody control your destiny. Just follow it yourselves, you know.